He met her on Facebook. It never started as a scam. And if you're expecting this story to start with money, it doesn't. It started with recognition, a shared sense of humor, that quiet feeling that someone finally saw him without asking for anything. Romance scammers don't steal money first. They steal certainty. What you thought was the beginning of a relationship was actually the beginning of a system. Slow, human, convincing. If this already feels uncomfortably familiar, you are not alone. And some realizations are not meant for comments. They are meant to land quietly. The first month usually looks ordinary. Most people say, but nothing felt off. And that matters because that's when the brain relaxes. That thing you thought was safety was actually information gathering, not spying, more like calibration. Scammers often mirror your values, your space, your emotional temperature. So it feels natural. And your brain does what it's meant to do. It notices consistency and it eases the gap. That's why that early phase still feels real, even now. Because emotionally, your brain experienced it as real. This is the part many people miss. It wasn't the chemistry. It was the consistency. You showed up every day. The messages were steady. It felt dependable. The same thing you later felt embarrassed about. Those were exactly the things that opened the door. Not because you were weak, but because you were reliable. What felt like two people trying was also being noticed quietly. How steady is this person? How patient? How loyal? That's not foolishness. That's someone being understood before they are even asked for anything. 6 months isn't random. Around this time, people say the relationship feels solid. There is history now. Inside jokes, even conflicts that has been resolved. So it feels proven. The relationship feels proven. What looked like proof was actually layered investment. By 6 months, your brain isn't evaluating anymore. It's now protecting the relationship. That's why doubt at this stage felt disloyal, not logical at all. And that moment marked a shift from curiosity to commitment. Most people can point to a moment when something changed, but nothing exploded. No obvious red flags, a small request, a simple story, a need that actually makes sense. What felt like helping was actually the hand-off point. Romance scams don't break reality. They replace it gently. And because it happened slowly, the brain adjusted instead of resisting. By the time money showed up in the conversation, something else was already gone. Your sense of control over the story. Many people say the worst part wasn't the loss itself. It was realizing how real everything felt. What looked like financial betrayal was actually emotional displacement. That's why recovery isn't just about refunds of the money. It's about finding your foot again inside reality. Intelligence doesn't stop scams. Sometimes it stretches them. Analytical minds look for explanations. Empathetical minds look for context. While faith-rooted minds look for meaning. Scammers rely on these traits. This worked because of them. Your thinking didn't disappear. It got turned back on you. Instead of asking what was wrong out there, you started to look inwards. That wasn't a flaw. It became a leverage. But shame actually arrives when certainty collapses. Not because you failed, but because the brain is trying to rewrite the story fast enough to survive it. That's why the memory of what happened normally replay, not to punish you, but to make sense of what happened. Let me tell you something. if you have been a victim of romance scam and you are trying to make sense of what happened, grieving over the loss, your mind is not punishing you. It's trying to make sense of what changed. When you look back now, everything feels obvious. But the brain doesn't see the past the same way it sees the present. What you thought was blindness was actually that you had less information. You were responding to what you knew then, not what you know now. And that difference explains a lot. If this feels personal, it's because it was. Scammers don't imitate love. They imitate belonging. They step into the place where connection already mattered. And some realizations aren't for public explanation. They are the kind you sit with or you send quietly to one person who might recognize themselves and need to hear. If this brought something up for you, you don't have to explain it. But you are welcome to respond in whatever way feels safe. Recovery doesn't begin with answers. It begins with slowly trusting your own perception again. Not all at once, just enough to feel steady. Understanding the system doesn't erase the pain, but it removes the mystery. And mystery is where shame tends to live. As the mystery clears, many people find that they can finally talk about what happened, or even just listen without feeling overwhelmed. You didn't miss something obvious. You encountered something so. Understanding it now is not failure, it's timing. And if this made you pause instead of react, that's not weakness. That's your mind finding its footing again. If this perspective helped, you are welcome to leave a thought or share it with someone who might need it more than you did. Some things don't need explanation. They just need to be recognized. See you in the next video.